Welcome everyone. I'm here today with Steve Mabel, and we're going to be talking about soul matrix healing. This is a unique form of healing that Steve provides. Now, Steve is an author of 4 published books. He's a coach, a healer, and a spiritual facilitator. He has worked in 3 careers in his life and is now on his 4th. He's worked for 10 years in international banking and then another 10 years in local government. And he was director of the highly successful not-for-profit Alternatives for 13 years, based in St James's Church, Piccadilly. And he's founder of Conscious Media. So welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Matt.
Great to chat about this particular modality as well that you've developed. So I'd just like to begin just by asking how energy healing has been a part of your life on your journey.
Yeah, okay, well, so I started, let me think, back in my 30s. My journey kind of started when my father died, and then I was kind of thinking there must be more to life than this. Well, actually before then, when I was a teenager, I was very into spirituality, but there wasn't so much around, so eventually I kind of closed down and then just went into normal, get a job, get married, and I did that. So then when my father died, there was a kind of explosion in me of kind of seeking, searching for something. I didn't know what it was. And one of the first things I come across was a woman who was, you could say, kind of into Wicca. She was teaching language, but I soon kind of ditched the language and started learning tarot and crystal healing and all kinds of stuff, and she lent me all kinds of books. That led me to a crystal healer. And I was very drawn to crystal healing. I didn't know much about it. I read a book from this language teacher, and then I started going every week to this crystal healer. And really, this healer sort of opened me up. Every week she'd put crystals on me, she'd wave her hands in my energy field, and she'd do stuff. And then over time, I started to feel it, and I felt my energy started to open, and I could even say to her, I know where your hands are, even though my eyes are closed. I could sense where they were in my body. She'd say, tell me. I'd tell her, then she'd say, open your eyes, and they were there, But they were too far away from my body to feel the heat of the hand, but they'll be like 3 feet away kind of thing. So that was the kind of proof that something was going on, because I needed some kind of proof that it wasn't just my mind making things up. So there was proof happening. I started doing personal development training. I did something called ISA, which started opening up to energy a little bit. It was very personal development, but there were energy exercises in there. Again, sensing energy with your eyes closed, and I worked. I could feel where people's hands were, and And again, it's like, well, the proof I needed. So slowly I was getting this kind of proof thing going on. And I was feeling better in myself. These kind of seminars and the healing was clearing me and making me feel more empowered. I then started to do some workshops with somebody called Jill Edwards, who runs something called Living Magically. I started that in 1994. She'd just written the book Living Magically, which was at the time the most cutting-edge book on, you know, channeling and energy healing and soul multi-dimensionality, and you create your own reality. When I read it, I remember reading it 3 or 4 times, thinking this is amazing. And then I booked one-to-one sessions with her, so I used to go once a month, have one-to-one sessions with her, and really she was blowing open my energy fields, really. And I started doing workshops with her. I did the 1-year training course with her, Living Magic training course, and I went on to be a training course, all kinds of training courses with her, and that work, more than any of the other, I suppose, really opened me. And that pointed the way to a lot of other things. She pointed the way towards shamanism, which I started training in, towards Wicca, which I trained in. She pointed the way to alternatives. I had a dream where I was thinking about volunteering for alternatives, where I used to work, and in the dream she appeared and said, just do it. So in the morning I rang them up and I became a volunteer the following Monday. Stayed there for 20 years. Actually, it was very... So my journey was beginning, and really I was kind of new. I was kind of green. There was so much around. It was all like, wow, isn't this amazing? I went to alternatives every week volunteering. I was still working in a regular job. I was still married. I kind of separated around the time I started working in earnest with Jill Edwards in 94. I kind of separated from my ex-wife. So my life kind of took off from having lived a very conventional life for 13, 15 years in the city, getting married and all that. And suddenly I was in the world of alternatives, living magically, shamanism, energy healing, you know, and the universe seemed like it was just expanding out, and I felt more on track in my life. I felt happier in my life. Of course, there were challenges in getting divorced and challenges in leaving the city, but by and large I started to find myself more and more on track. I started doing lots of energy healing things, Reiki, Seichem. I did a lot of other healing courses. I became an energy junkie. I was like really interested. You know, some people go to restaurants. I used to go to training courses and go, oh, this is a nice energy. You know?
Yeah.
So that was kind of my way in back in the early 90s. And I mean, now 20 years later, I still feel I'm on another level of the journey. The universe again seems to be expanding, and there's new things. I created some matrix healing out of all the things I've learned in my past. I fused them together in a way that I wanted someone to do for me, but didn't quite do. So I thought I'll do it. And now here I am, kind of looking out, going, where next? You know.
Amazing. Yeah. So it's an endless journey, isn't it?
Endless journey, yeah.
So regarding your soul matrix healing, so I know you've done some work also. You incorporate so many different forms in here. I know you've done some work with Oren and Ben, they've been a huge part of my life as well, awakening, and you've done quite extensive work with them.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about soul matrix healing and how you designed this and came up with this unique way of working?
Yeah, well, I kind of been working with a number of different systems and different models and different techniques and all the rest of it. So the first one was really Jill Edwards' work, Living Magically, and she synthesized spirituality and psychology. So, like how the ego, the personality fits together, how she was the one who introduced me to Huna, the 3 selves, the kind of unconscious, conscious, and higher conscious, and how that works. She introduced me to channeling and guides, and she pointed the way towards working with a lot of the stuff I did later, which was with channels like the Zaras. I connected with all the Seth material. The Orient and Darben, I did all the light body training, teaching the light body. I did a lot of their other courses as well. I did a lot of work with star beings, stargates. I worked through nearly all the levels of, I think most of the levels of Metatronic healing I've done. So these were 2 of the polarities, Living Magically and all the kind of star, angelic. I did a lot of work with angelic. energies with also when I did the kind of Wiccan work, I was also working with archangels in the directions, and I found they were very powerful. The 6 directions of above, below, east, south, west, north. And so I did that. I used to work every day with these angelic energies and just calling them and working with that. The other poles were something called spiritual response therapy, which was created in America by a guy called Robert Detzler, who's now passed over. And this is a brilliant system about the multi-dimensional nature of blocks and how to clear them. It works with pendulums and charts, so I work with a pendulum and all these charts, although most of them are internalized now and I don't really need the charts so much anymore. And this system, back in the mid-90s, I started, as I was on this journey of working at alternatives, I started to have the idea of I wanted to start doing public talks and workshops. So my first public talk was in around 96, I think it was, and I scheduled it with a friend who was very experienced. When I did the talk, I became almost, I couldn't speak. I said to her, I can't do this. I didn't know what came over me. It was some kind of really difficult, it wasn't, I mean, I have spoken in public before, but it was almost like a terror of speaking out about spiritual things. It was really strange. So my girlfriend at the time took me to see this healer who did spiritual response therapy, and this healer she's cleared all these blocks at a soul level, and it was an amazing session. And then I tried it out. I did another talk 3 weeks later. I was fine. So I realised actually she did clear a lot of stuff. It was quite amazing. So I trained in the system back in 96, I think it was. So that's nearly 20 years ago. So then on the other pole of soul matrix healing is more the grounded side. So I trained in coaching, NLP, voice dialogue, and all these things gave me very grounded insights into working with language, neurological patterns, and soul timelines. So all of them together are kind of like a grounded and cosmic approach to clearing soul blocks and opening somebody up to where they want to go. But there's a very grounded element to it, because some people need the more grounded and other people need the more energy cosmic clearing. And, you know, there's usually a combination of all of it, really. So I fused the system. I didn't know if it could be fused, but I kind of found a way of doing it kind of intuitively. You know, I just asked, how can I do it? And then I got, yeah, this is the way to do it. And to be honest, although I've been doing all these things for many years, it feels like I'm on another level of the journey where I'm learning a whole new layer of what's going on at a soul level, really. Every client I get is a new, it seems to be a new set of patterns and interesting stuff. So I'm on a fast learning curve as well. Even though I've done it for 20 years, it feels like I'm on another level of it, really.
Do you find that healing has evolved so much over the decades? Do you find that it's becoming more integrative now, because what you're offering is so multidimensional, and it offers so many different levels, on this level, on the higher levels, and you feel that as we move into, maybe it's to do with the shift that we're moving into and we're expanding, that more integrative approach allows us to heal more in a more expanded way?
Yeah, I think the integrative approach is the way to go. I don't find so much of it, you know, the really kind of high cosmic soul clearing stuff combined with very grounded approaches, coaching, NLP, voice dialogue, and there are other systems. So, which is why I created it. But I have met a few people in my travels, particularly alternatives, which I felt did do both. We had a coaching group that we ran for many years, and I did meet one or two coaches in there that seemed to be able to access both the kind of very higher energy levels and work very practically with people. And I was very impressed with that, you know, and I'm very impressed actually with this kind of anybody who can synergize different modules into one system. And Jill Edwards in Living Magically was the first person who was able to do that. She had a very kind of integrated approach. But she wasn't coming from coaching, she was coming more from a psychotherapeutic approach, which was also brilliant. So that's why I was so drawn to that. So I definitely think the integrative approach is the way to go, but I don't find so many people at the moment who actually do it. I'm really, you know, if anybody knows people out there, let me know, because I'm always keen to find these people and kind of find their work.
Yeah, it's great. It feeds so much I feel like our soul seeks so many different levels of understanding and awareness. So the grounded element gives that understanding on this level, how we live in our lives, and also the psychological, like you're saying, and the esoteric allows so much more behind the scenes to occur. So it's really great that you're working with this, and you're talking about soul timelines and lots of different clearing processes. How do you feel that this particular model, this amazing system that you've designed, works with our current energies, and why do you feel that we need this right now during our times?
Oh yeah, well, I think the main reason is because we're going through this global shift, and so 20 years ago when I started to learn it, it was just really something for myself, really. I did it mainly to learn, when I started to do SRT, spiritual response therapy, and work with Jill Edwards' work, and the guides and stuff. I came to the coaching much later. It was really for me. It was for my healing, for my clearing. But now we seem in the last few years to have hit a kind of real stepping up of the kind of energy, I would say. So in the last 2 or 3 years, myself, I've gone through a great challenging journey. I kind of wrote a book about it, about transitions. So on the other side of that, I realised lots of people are going through transitions. The kind of energies on the planet are shifting. There are a lot of people quite confused. I was very confused for a time about what's going on. There's a lot of people who need help with this shift. There's a lot of stuff going on in people's energy fields which are difficult, unless you've got somebody who's been through it and knows what it is. And it is a complex field, working with energy. It's not like you get a book and go, oh, well, it's A, B, C. Sometimes it's kind of complex, but if somebody's got enough experience, then they can work it out and help you. And when I was going through my own transition, I saw 18 to 20 healers, and only 1 or 2 were really able to really understand what was going on. So I realised that a lot of healers who were doing great work out there, weren't really able to help me with my shift, going through kind of awakening and energy shift. They weren't able to help me going with clearing some of the stuff in my energy field. There was all kinds of stuff swirling around and going on in my energy field. I mean, in the transition, I had 10 days of blowing up all kinds of electrics and crystals and everything. So something really weird was going on, and nobody really could help me. Eventually, I found 1 or 2 that were very good. Even SRT stopped working for a while, so I've had to kind of upgrade it and shift it to kind of work out. Well, I went and saw 3 or 4 SRT practitioners to help me through my transition, and they didn't help me. So I was a bit worried about that. So now there's a lot of karmic energy being cleared on the planet. The world is in a bit of chaos. We see what's going on in the world. There's lots of people going through their own transition process or their own awakening process, and some of them are a bit scared, going, well, I don't know what this is. So you really need somebody who's on the other side. And there are a few people who've gone through this process and who can help nowadays. I'm not saying this is the one and only system. There are people around. But I think in the healing profession at the moment, if you're going through an awakening, big shift, kind of lots of karmic stuff going on, it may be not every healer might be able to know what that's all about. So SRT deals with stuff in kind of the energy field, what's going on. Sometimes we get overloaded, sometimes our circuits blow out, sometimes the energy field gets disrupted, sometimes our energy fields get misaligned, sometimes we get interference in our energy fields. There are kind of forces which can come in and interfere. I found, particularly in my journey, I had a lot of, you could say, dark interference over the last 5 years. Entities and all kinds of stuff, which really, took me a lot of work to clear all that out, really. So, so there's a lot going on.
Yeah. So do you find that people who are open more tend to attract this kind of energy, these lower denser frequencies?
People going through a shift can attract this energy, but actually there's a karmic element to it as well. Not everyone is attracting those kind of... I mean, there's a scale of... a spectrum of darker energies from, you could say something in your energy field that's just kind of there and a bit blocking. You know, it could be just somebody you picked up from the house you live in who kind of died there. You know, that's not going to be a severe difficulty. But there's a whole, on the other end of the spectrum, there's very, very negative entities which are kind of around, and but not everyone has to deal with them. I think it's a karmic thing. I think something I came in this lifetime to clear. So it's not to worry everybody going, oh my God, I'm gonna have this. You'll know it if you've got it. I did do some work with a teacher in America called Lisa Renee, who does energy synergy, I can't remember exactly the name of it. She was brilliant because she had stuff, so I did a lot of work with her, all her work, to kind of work out how she cleared it. I mean, eventually I cleared it, but there are some people who incarnate, who've got contracts with, you could say, the dark side, who've had other lifetimes with kind of darker energies, or contracts with darker energies, and in this lifetime they're all coming up to be cleared, really. But it's not everyone that has it, so don't worry. Don't try and kind of create another problem for yourself if you haven't got anything like that. If you've got it in your energy field, you know it. I did have one client who came to me and said, I've got entities, can you help me? And I went, yeah, sure, no problem. But up to that point, this was about 4 years ago when I met this person, the entities that she was dealing with, I hadn't encountered anything quite like that. It was a bit like dealing with kind of psychic SAS, you know. And then when I said to her, I said, "Oh my gosh, what are they?" And so then they came back the following night, and I was ready for them, and I cleared them out quite quickly. But this particular client has had a lot of karmic stuff that she's had to clear with these beings, and I think she's clear now. But it took several months, really, that one. That was very unusual. Most people, it's not that difficult.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, with soul matrix healing, you say that you work with the laws of grace. Could you explain a little bit about these laws, and how you work with them?
Well, the laws of grace, there's lots of spiritual teachers talking about the laws of grace. Basically, the idea is that as our 3D matrix shifts into 5D, it's such a big shift, and there's so much old karma that we've accumulated in lifetimes, you know. And when I talk about that, the starseed group, which are the most people that are attracted to this kind of work, have had lots of lifetimes. Not all of them in this dimension. Lots of them are in other dimensions, you know. So there's lots of stuff being picked up all over the place. As we're taking the shift into 5D, there are these laws of dispensation or grace that have been given that are good at clearing karmic and soul blocks that stop an individual kind of moving forward, opening up, awakening, that kind of thing. One of the things in SRT which they taught about was upgrading the higher self. And when I came across that, I thought, well, that's strange. That even the higher self could actually present a certain block. So in SRT, there was ways of actually clearing and raising the frequency of the higher self. Because in SRT, they see the higher self as a gestalt of energies, not just one. Like our personalities is a gestalt of different bits of our egos. So our higher self is also a gestalt of many different energies. And so some of those bits might be out of whack or out of sync, and they need to be cleared and replaced. So that's something the SRT taught me to do. Sometimes people have guides or beings around them working in spirit that really need to be shifted, and they need to have new guides brought in. That's something that SRT can do. But there are also lots of teachers that are working with angelic beings and masters that are holding these kind of dissolving karmic rays or forces. The violet flame is the most common one that people know. There's a platinum white flame that I also work with. There's a ruby flame, and there's an emerald flame. And there are various other ones. There are also kind of energies that star beings are holding. The Arcturians are holding a very powerful energy for the planet at the moment, and that can dissolve and clear karma. It's very protecting, actually. If I'm feeling very wobbled, I usually call upon the Arcturian blue energy flame to come down. There are other beings like the Pleiadians who are at work here, the Syrians are at work here, the Orion are at work here. You have to be a bit careful with Orion, and a little bit with Sirius. There's some, the Star Wars did happen, in Orion, so you have to be careful what energies you're connecting with there. But if you've got an intention about working with the highest, I do work with Orion energies, but I was a bit worried for a while, but now I know they're okay, so it's all right. So there are all these kind of energies around. They're kind of light masters. There's a lot of energy focused on the planet. There's Christ grids. There's all kinds of things we can connect to that can start dissolving this karma. Basically, we don't have to work out karma so slowly as we did in the past.
So, going on from that, what kind of blocks and what kind of ways does soul matrix healing work in clearing for people?
Blocks can come. Well, since we're multi-dimensional, blocks are also multi-dimensional. That's the tricky thing with it. So, for an example, what would be an example? So a client a couple of months back, the main primary issue was being presented was an ancestral one. And so she was having energies coming down her ancestral line through her mother line, I think, if I'm remembering rightly, through the mother line, which was blocking her and causing her a lot of problems. So these energies we can start working to neutralise these energies and shift them and kind of honour them, so actually it starts to be less of a problem. That's a kind of ancestral problem.
Right.
Most people suffer to some degree with an ancestral issue. Sometimes it's very debilitating, sometimes it's just mildly debilitating. For example, all of our families, most of us have been through 2 world wars. I'm in England here, so my family's been through 2 world wars. That has affected my ancestral line. I've had to do some work on it. And the other main kind of area of block would be other lifetimes. So, since we're multidimensional, we've had lots of lifetimes in lots of places, and some of those are lovely, and some of those are not lovely. The most blocking kind of lifetime would be trauma, where there's some kind of shock trauma. The worst kinds are usually involving some kind of death experience, which is very traumatic. People who are very spiritual starseed types have had lifetimes in places like Egypt. Egypt was a very light and dark place to be in. I've met lots of clients who've had experiences with the dark and black magic experiences in Egypt. I've had that myself, so I recognise them when I see them. There are people who've had experiences in Atlantis. So Atlantis has this kind of very traumatic destruction energy that was experienced. So a lot of souls have that experience of Atlantean energies that they come to resolve. What would be another example? I've met people, and I've had this experience myself of being. My first past life experience was one of being burned at the stake, and that was the most shocking experience. I remember it was just a kind of spontaneous experience of having it. And the point of all these, even like a past life memory, is not, just to go, oh, that's nice. We're not spiritual tourists. The reason we're shown this at a soul level is because it's blocking us in this lifetime. So that memory of being burnt, I was working in local government at the time, and very strangely and karmically, all the people who were working in my unit were all kind of fundamental religious types of one type or another. No spiritual types, all the kind of born-again Christians, Jehovah's Witness, Muslim, extreme type, Baptist, the whole lot, and they're all very kind of wary of me wearing my crystal pendants, and my boss, who was a born-again Christian, was very, very attacking, very on my case all the time. And after this experience of this memory, which was a lot of energy kind of shifted, just the experience of the kind of the feelings of terror and fear and anger and all that stuff, and the whole memory, just having the experience seemed to shift something that in my work in local government, that kind of feeling of being persecuted stopped happening. I was feeling persecuted actually by these people. I wanted to hide what I believed. I didn't want them to know. But once I had this experience, it kind of shifted something in me, and I kind of didn't get so worried about it. And so that's the thing, that once these energies are cleared or held up to the light, the pattern that's blocking us in this life can start to shift also. That's really the point of it. It's not just we need to go around the universe clearing every block. It's really, how do these things affect our life now? Where is the energy coming from? Past life, ancestral, where? And then we go and find it and neutralise it. And that starts to open the way for something else to happen.
It's amazing, as you say, how much of our past life experience has such an impact on this life here for us as well.
Yeah.
Just that example was just fascinating, actually, and it just shows I've had similar things in my own life, and once you start to make the connections and draw the dots together, it does provide a powerful growth and changes our reality.
Yeah, well, probably one of the most common things that I see in practically every client is negative energy cords. You know,
right.
This is the old-fashioned, the clearing the cord, cutting the cords that bind. Practically every client I see has energy cords to ex-wives, ex-lovers, ex-someone who hates them, and just clearing that thing alone could be a huge relief on the energy field, really.
Because it must be, the amount of relationships we have with people in general.
Yeah, let go of all those ex-lovers and past wives and all that. You've got to let them all go.
So how do you see that soul matrix healing helps activate our soul mission here on the planet?
Most people are, so there's a couple of things really. One of them is that most people who come to me are either light worker, starseed types.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get anybody come who's really not like that. Very rarely do I get those kind of people, and then I do clearing on the energy field, but they're not going to be the kind of people that get activated, their light ignites and they go on their soul path, soul mission. They're really coming for help, ease some tension, ease some difficulty, and then they kind of basically go back to a kind of life which not much different happens, but they feel better, But a starseed comes because they want to activate, they want to get on track, they want to find out where they want to go. A lot of people come because they kind of feel frustrated or unhappy in their general direction. Clearing the blocks tends to start also clearing some of the confusion around which way should I be going, what should I be here to do. Often, not always, it can be quite obvious from the outside about where their soul mission is, where they're heading for. So I had a client today, and her soul mission was clearly and obviously about being a healer. And there's one or two other bits to that. It was so clear and obvious in everything she said, but she was so resisting the path, and we kind of resist the path because we're a bit scared. Yeah. And partly that fear can come from other lifetimes where we've been on our path and actually some force, some controlling hierarchy has stepped on us and go, no way, Jose. If you think that we might have been blocked by, particularly in the past, I think religious organisations, or it could be political, military organisations. The Roman Empire used to be quite good at stepping on people. The early Christians were getting thrown to the lions, or there was crucifixion and all this kind of thing. In later times, medieval times, it was the church with the state burning people. So, if you think about history, shamans were killed by a communist government in the early times of the communist revolution. So there's been kind of the shamans, the healers, the kind of switched on people, the seers. They usually get kind of bumped off if the kind of matrix of the planet's a bit dark. So we're in a kind of dark Kali Yuga period for a while, and so it's never been really safe to switch on your light too much and get on your path. But now, in this period of confluence of shift and change, now is the time to do it. So it's clearing away the blocks and helping somebody kind of recognise where they need to go. So that's how I kind of help them really get the kind of angelic forces to activate their kind of light body and their energy bodies, and off they go.
Wow, this is fantastic work.
Yeah.
And as you're working with people over the years, I just wanted to ask, have you noticed a shift in people's energies, because you're working in such an intimate way on an energetic level? Have you noticed a change in people's energies over the years during this time, these particular times?
I'm kind of biased now because my energy shifted so much in the last 5 years that
Right, yeah.
I really am noticing it a lot more. Whereas, but I actually do feel that that at this time it probably is speeding up and accelerating. So I mean, a lot of people who just seem right on the edge of shifting or really on the path, whereas 20, 30 years ago it took a lot more energy to get going. So now, even though the energies are more volatile, there's much more push, there's much more, people are feeling that soul push to get on their path a lot more, and they feel it as this tremendous tension or frustration. And I think also, since the old 3D matrix is breaking down, the forces in place are not quite as strong as they were. They might seem even stronger because there's a lot of nonsense, the military with their machine guns and the police sirens whizzing up and down after Paris. But actually the energies on the planet, the dark energies, are not quite as strong, so it's a bit more easier to get out there. Also because a lot of people have taken the journey over the last 30 years, so for people starting it now, there's a lot of examples of other people doing it. There's lots of books being written. So back in 1999, a friend of mine, Nick Williams, wrote a book, The Work We're Born to Do. So in 1999, it's a revelation, you can do the work you love, in England. Hardly anybody's heard of that as a possibility. Now, the corporate world have kind of absorbed it, haven't they? We want to... I've seen it in some corporate settings about... They've got the speak anyway, whether they're actually doing it in practice.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are talking about wanting to be inspired in their work, wanting to do the work they love. So that wasn't a conversation people had 30 years ago. So that kind of is in the matrix now. And there's a lot more examples of that. In my parents' day, people married for life. The divorce was unheard of. Nowadays, if you and your partner are not on the same path, it's a lot less forces around you blocking you from actually stepping out and stepping on your path. Of course, it's still painful and challenging, but the cultural forces are not so difficult. So I think people are accelerating in their growth and in their awakening. And I do believe in the next few years there's going to be millions kind of waking up, partly because of things which are going to happen in the world, which are going to kind of awaken them, difficult things, I think, things that we've been talking about that are going to happen on the world stage, that are happening already. The situation with the refugees crisis and Syria and all these things are a huge wake-up call for a lot of people when they look at that and going, I don't think I can live this kind of 9-to-5 life when all this stuff is going on in the world, So the dark side, or all these kind of darker things, are also waking people up, which is the point of it, really.
Well, fantastic work you do, Steve. So I'd just like to give people some links here. I know you do some one-to-one sessions around this. Is there a website they can come to and a particular link to get in contact with you around?
Well, in the moment, it's my website, which is stevenobel.com, and it's Steve and then nobel.com. I am building a new website called thesoulmatrix.com, but that's not up yet. That'll be in the new year. So probably the best one is stevenobel.com. They'll find me. And sessions one-to-one are usually Skype or face-to-face. If they're in London, face-to-face is better.
Fantastic. And you're going to be sharing this wonderful work with people as well, and training people on how to actually work in this multidimensional way. Is that right?
Yeah, so the brilliant and most wonderful London College of Spirituality next year are doing an amazing training sessions with a number of things, and Soul Matrix Healing is to be one of those training modules, and I guess you'll let all the people know about that in time, but I'm very excited about being part of that, so yeah, very excited. Yeah,
it'd be great to share that for people to know. Well, thank you, Steve. It's been a great chat, and I love this new way of healing that you've got here. I think integrative healing and just bringing all those elements together provides people with such a new form of moving through their stuff, really, and transforming and activating. So thank you for bringing this to us and sharing your work.